I have a somewhat unusual blog for this edition of Monday with Mounts. I was reading through some blogs on the web and I came across a post that said that the NIV translators deliberately mistranslated lots of passages. And they probably could have said it about any translation, but he was picking on the NIV. Now, that's a really serious charge if it were true, right? But what it would mean is that there's a passage where there is zero question as to what it means, and the NIV or any Bible translation translates it a different way. And that's the only way you could prove a deliberate mistranslation. And even at that point, you may not even be able to prove that it was deliberate. Maybe the translation committee just made a mistake. But as I read through the blog post, it became real apparent what was happening. And he listed many examples of deliberate mistranslation. And in every single one that I looked at, it was simply a matter of interpretation. In other words, he's comparing apples and oranges. What he did was he would come to a verse, and let's pick on 1 Timothy 3:2. I talk about that in the blog, the position about that an elder has to be faithful. And he said, well, obviously this is a reference to polygamy. And since the NIV translates it faithful, they are deliberately mistranslating. That's a great example because there's not a single translation or standard commentary that says that's a prohibition of polygamy. I think polygamy is certainly involved in what Paul is telling Timothy, but that's not clear what it says. And so what he's done is he's taken his interpretive position, and whenever the Bible translation he's picking on differs, he's saying it's a deliberate mistranslation. Well, that's unfair, it's ungracious, and academically it's inexcusable because you're confusing interpretation with this nefarious, deliberate mistranslation. You know, in this whole thing of blogging, the longer I'm involved in this, the more I just want to say, could people please treat one another with grace, with respect, with a little bit of humility? And it would make such a difference in the blogosphere. I'm not holding out any hope that's going to happen, but that would be the Christian thing to do. That would be the Ephesians 4 and 5 thing to do. But anyway, apples and oranges, just because you differ with the translation doesn't mean they're deliberately mistranslating it. Anyway, check out the blog post at billmounts.com.